We have seen how some people on social media have glorified Brian Thompson's murder. There has been an avalanche of comments supporting it. Last week, a former Washington Post reporter said, quote, "People wonder why we want these executives dead." In just the last 24 hours, social media users have seized on the suspect's appearance. It's yet another sign of the toxicity of the public discourse in the U.S.
All of it driven by the Democrat Party and the American left, 100% of it. Demonizing CEOs, demonizing the health insurance industry, demonizing the health care industry. This is the result. And now they want to date the killer. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Man, oh, Manischewitz, I am telling you. And they're so crazy, the left, the Democrat Party, they love death more than we love not life, as you know. But in the case of the CEO being murdered, they hold the CEO in contempt. And Luigi Mangione, they want to, I'll just say, go on vacation with. They want to date. They want to spend private time with him. They've got women, and I assume a lot of men, too, clawing their way to Luigi Mangione, who, according to now his old roommate in Hawaii, because he's living a hard life, Hawaiian. I don't know whatever happened to those reports that he rode the Greyhound bus up from Atlanta. Maybe all of that was wrong, but they captured him at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which is a funny name for a place, and great memes going around of President Trump leaning out the window at a McDonald's drive-thru. And look, President Trump called the police and got the CEO killer caught. And the Democrats don't like that either. They don't like anything about any of this. They're quite amazing, these people. Remarkable stuff. And private school guy, Ivy League guy, Hawaii, Bali, traveling the world, other people's money, and furious with the manifesto. He's got a manifesto. And in the manifesto, he attacks the health insurance industry and the insurance industry, and his old roommate from his Hawaii apartment says that he injured himself while surfing. Now, who hasn't that happened to in Hawaii? It's because the surf can be pretty rough out there, especially on the North Shore. And he was laid up for a week after surfing for a day, maybe a surfing injury, and he had a back injury. And according to his roommate, he couldn't have sex anymore because of a back injury. And then apparently he may have had back surgery, according to some reports. And there's a picture of an X-ray showing 4 screws, looks like into a neck. And we're told that that's him. And I guess that's being used to create a defense for him, an explanation, an excuse. Well, of course he killed a CEO of an insurance company. He had a neck injury. Okay. And he was injured when he was surfing in Hawaii. And who hasn't that happened to? And on and on. Now, and it did remind me of the rich kid murder. Reminded me, nobody remembers this anymore. But there was a famous murder in the United States of America. We generally referred to as the Leopold and Loeb murders, the Leopold and Loeb murders. And Nathan Leopold, Richard Loeb were a couple of young men in Chicago who murdered a young man. And Leopold and Loeb became a big, famous, nationwide story all over the media. Movies were made about the incident because Leopold and Loeb, 2 American students, they're at the University of Chicago. They kidnapped and they murdered a 14-year-old boy named Bobby Franks in Chicago. And University of Chicago is generally a school for smart people, right? They committed the murder. They called it the crime of the century. And their plan was to show the world that they're smarter than everybody else, that they had superior brains, and that they knew they could murder 14-year-old Bobby Franks and get away with it because they're smarter than everybody else, and they committed the perfect crime. you see, the Leopold and Loeb murders. And it was the biggest story in the world when it happened way back when, 1924, 100 years ago now. And it was in May, so it was more than 100 years ago. But it became a giant story. Alfred Hitchcock made a movie about it. One of them, which one? I think it was Richard Loeb, was later murdered in prison. They were both sent to prison for a long time, life plus 99 years for kidnapping and murder and all these terrible things. But it was a big deal at the time because in the United States we used to value human life in ways that we don't anymore, quite honestly. And the trial was the trial of the century, and Clarence Darrow was a lawyer for the two murderers for Leopold and Loeb, and it was a big deal. His closing argument was one for the books that they still study in law schools, apparently. And again, Alfred Hitchcock made a movie based on, and it wasn't a perfect, historically accurate telling of the murder, but Alfred Hitchcock made a great movie about it, and it is a great movie. It's called Rope, like a piece of rope, because they tied him up and they had a trunk and all this stuff. But Alfred Hitchcock made a movie, and it's a famous movie, and it's a good movie, a fictionalized version of the murder, and it was a big deal. The movie Rope, they still show it on Turner Classic Movies and stuff. But this guy with his Ivy League background and his private school background and his wealthy family background is a little bit like the Leopold and Loeb murderers of the 1920s. See, I bring history and all kinds of background stuff to the dance. Yeah, and all over the media and social media, which isn't, they are spoozing love and admiration for the murderer in this case, who they say, oh, isn't he hot? Isn't he attractive? Here he is with his shirt off. Look at his abs. Late night TV is doing jokes about the murderer, and everybody's laughing because they've turned him into a cultural icon, a cultural celebrity. Again, like after the Boston Marathon bombing with the two Muslim brothers, Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, that bombed the Boston Marathon, and Rolling Stone magazine put one of the murdering terrorists on the cover of the Rolling Stone, which is a song and a sign of a sick culture. Those guys, and of course, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev ran over his brother and killed him with a car. His brother Tamerlan, who was named for an ancient Muslim ruler who piled up so many severed heads that they built pyramids out of them. And there are some Muslim parents still naming their kids after him because of all the severed heads. The remarkable stuff. And they love the death. They love the murderer. Again, there's Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. He's on the cover of the Rolling Stone. They made him something to admire. And there are crazy women who want to marry Charles Manson in prison, but at least that was just one crazy person here or there. Now the Democrat Party has made this a cultural phenomenon. Just amazing stuff.
And this guy they caught down in Pennsylvania, Vinny Rigatoni. You know that guy's Italian because you could grate Parmesan on those abs.
Yeah, they want to date the murderer because he's a murderer. This is the left. They're sick. Now, Luigi Mangione was the valedictorian of his private high school, of his fancy private $47,000 a year high school. And coincidentally, the man that he murdered, Brian Thompson, was valedictorian of his high school. And Brian Thompson was valedictorian at his college as well. Isn't that amazing? One valedictorian kills another. You don't see that every day. And valedictorian is a word that comes from Latin. The term that it comes from means farewell. The valedictorian speech and all of that good stuff. Man, yeah, valedictorian was Thompson. All the news media is talking about Mangione being valedictorian at his private high school, but not talking about the fact that the man that he murdered was valedictorian at his high school and at his college, which I think is better. That means he outranks him. Isn't that true? Man, just amazing. Crazy. But Democrats, they love the murderer, don't they? Yes, they do. You know, you remember the massacre? This is another crazy story. And this, when is this story? Is an old story now. It's from 2 years ago. Idaho, you remember this guy in Idaho, Brian Kohlberger, and he murdered 4 people in their house in Idaho. College students, murdered the 4 of them. Well, he's getting love letters in prison. He's in prison, of course. Idaho murder suspect Brian Kohlberger gets disturbing love letters in jail. He gets these letters a couple of times a week, said an employee at the Latah County Jail, where Kohlberger, who's 29 years old, 2 years ago, being held without bond. It's disturbing, a jail employee said, who has regular contact with Kohlberger, told the Messenger, which is, I think, no longer in business. But Kohlberger received more than 24 love letters from women writing to express their romantic interests and convinced of his innocence. Yeah, they're convinced of his innocence from a great distance. Isn't that amazing? And again, the phenomenon, the psychological phenomenon, hybristophilia, where you have an obsession with someone that's committed a terrible crime or perpetrated a terrible deed. And the Democrat Party is producing a lot of people that are suffering from or enjoying hybristophilia because they're raising generations of sick people, lots of sick people. And they got people that fall in love with serial killer Ted Bundy and with Charles Manson of the Manson family. They're the political party of Jonestown in Guyana, which I read just a couple of days ago. They're talking about turning into a tourist destination now. And Democrats will doubtless visit because a lot of sick people out there. Lyle and Eric Menendez, who murdered their parents with shotguns, have women loving on them. Isn't that amazing? That Lyle and Eric Menendez wives, their wives, what they've shared about their marriages. Yes, sir. Just demented stuff. Sick people out there. And then they run for office, and you get, AOC, things like that. Let's go on to the next big story, because while the Democrats are in love with the murderer here, they're in love with the psychopath. And the other big story yesterday, when Daniel Penny was acquitted by the jury in New York City, shocking the world, I've got to say. Daniel Penny did an interview last year in June of 2023, and a television news interview, not a police interview, but he, of course, accidentally killed a psychopath on the New York City subway train who had been arrested more than 42 times in New York City. Jordan Neely was his name, and tragically, he died. Daniel Penny, former Marine, served in the United States Marine Corps honorably, was riding the subway train. Democrat psychopath Jordan Neely got on the train and started threatening everybody. Here's what Daniel Penny said last year.
There's a common misconception that Marines don't get scared. We're actually taught one of our core values is courage. And courage is not the absence of fear, but how you handle fear. And, I was scared for myself, but I looked around, I saw women and children. He was yelling in their faces, saying these threats. I couldn't just sit still.
Couldn't sit still. Now, that was him a year ago, and then the Democrats put him on trial, tried to put him in prison for as many years as they could because they love the mentally ill, demented, career criminal psychopath on the train more than they like the United States Marine who stopped bad things from happening. And it's obviously unfortunate, tragic Jordan Neely's life. His father abandoned him, of course, when he was a tiny child. His mother was naturally murdered by her boyfriend. He was cast into the system, and this is how he ended up. But I want to get more into that because the Democrats are on the wrong side of this one, too. Did you know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here, and it builds on the incredible success of the previous generations, and the models that earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's Amazing Internet became an instant bestseller. The new Thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have shown help to very quickly destroy 99.9% of bacteria in the air and viruses, like the Wuhan, removes dust, pet dander, smoke, and more from the air, and helps get rid of any stinky odor, too, with no filters to replace over and over again. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any of the stinky odors, guaranteed. Odors from trash cans and stinky shoes and a teenager's room. Left-wing protesters are no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and the smell disappears in a matter of seconds. Right now, you can save $200 American when you buy the Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. They're small. You can hold one in your hand. They're only this big. They're just like this. It's like a big wallet. You put one in your basement, your teenager's room, your family room, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS, and the number 3 to save $200 on 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. So, I want to get to this because the Democrats, they're on the wrong side of the assassination in New York, and they're on the wrong side of the Marines stopping bad things from happening on a subway train in New York. Why is that? That's coming up. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. All right, let's. Oh gosh, look at the. Let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Teresa, calling from Pensacola, Florida. Teresa, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Very well, Teresa. Thank you.
I am calling in regards to the shooter. If he wants to place blame, let's start when the problem actually occurred with the Obamacare. I was telling your screener, the nice gentleman, that I have 2 masses in my spinal cord. I've had 2 severe surgeries. I don't go around blaming people for something that they have no control over.
Right, I had back surgery also, and I didn't shoot anybody.
Exactly my point.
Yeah, I had back surgery. I had an L5, a laminectomy, a disc removed surgically years ago. I didn't shoot anyone. I've got some very bad news for Bill and Hillary Clinton at least, and maybe for fans of Bill and Hillary Clinton, because the people at American Airlines has halted their flights to Haiti, to the island Republic of Haiti. I've been to the Dominican Republic and peered over the fence into Haiti there, but American Airlines halting flights to Haiti. Spirit and JetBlue planes struck by gunfire while flying over Haiti last month amid growing gang violence. There's a lot of gang violence, and American Airlines will no longer have their flights going into Haiti through February now, as gang violence has worsened in the awful, terrible, Clintons went there and fixed it, Caribbean island. A spokesman for the airline told Fox News in a statement, they'll continue to evaluate a possible return of service to Haiti. But the reason is that so many people are being murdered. It's about all the murders in the place. And that's what has the airlines taken a look because of all of the killings and the gangs. Just amazing stuff. The United Nations, you don't want the United Nations coming in, has said at least 4,500 people have been reported killed in Haiti this year, with more than 2,000 others injured. And since November 11th, hundreds of people have been killed or injured. 42,000 people have been forced to flee their homes, according to UNICEF. You know, another one of those things that you don't want involved in your life. On Sunday, the National Human Rights Defense Network said a gang murdered at least 110 people, all of whom were over the age of 60, in Haiti's Chit Soleil, the Chit Soleil slum. They have a slum there. They give their slums names. It's suspected, now listen, this is my favorite part, that a gang came in and murdered at least 110 people, all of whom were over the age of 60, in one slum, because the gang leader said that the people they killed, he suspected them of causing his child's illness through witchcraft. Through witchcraft. Now, Haiti is probably not your retirement home waiting to happen there. The Reuters news agency said gang members used machetes and knives to carry out the deadly attack where they murdered at least 110 people. The United Nations had to go in and count them, all over the age of 60, because the gang leader said that all these people over the age of 60 probably caused his child's illness on account of witchcraft. Well, it's witchcraft. Play a little, Frank Sinatra did witchcraft. We should go ahead and play a little witchcraft. So that's what's going on in Haiti. But just keep in mind, you're not allowed to call any countries beep holes. Can't call any place a beep hole. You know, getting out of their beep hole countries. You know how many thousands and thousands of Haitians have been waved into the country under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris over the last 3 years? Just amazing stuff. Turmoil in the country has extended to its leadership as Haitian Prime Minister Gary Conille was ousted from office last month. That ought to make things better. And replaced with a businessman, Alex Didier. All right, and that's there he goes, and that's good. The U.S. government has long discouraged civilian travel to Haiti due to violence and political upheaval in the country. But the best part is witchcraft. Now, massacre of 110 people. Normally, you see this, it happens in Africa, for example, and not very often in France, for example. Remarkable stuff. So 4,000, it's a small island nation. It's half of the island they share with the Dominican Republic, where my best girl and I have been on vacation. She got a little case of food poisoning while we were there, got to say. Amazing stuff. But they murdered 110 people, all over the age of 60, because of witchcraft, which may have caused the gang leader's child to become ill. That's Haiti. And I do believe the Clintons, who used to spend a lot of time there, they fixed it long ago, didn't they? I remember that. I remember when they fixed it. Now it's all better. See? All right, now let me get back to, speaking of Democrats, let me get back to New York City, where Daniel Penny was not convicted. He was found not guilty by a jury of his peers in New York City, which shocked the world. On Friday, we had a hung jury for the first charge of manslaughter, and then a reduced charge, accidental manslaughter, was put back to the jury. And yesterday they powwowed for less than an hour and a half, I think, and came back and said, okay, not guilty. Now, what was going on outside while that was going on? Because Democrats, you may remember, while Donald Trump was on trial in New York for trumped-up charges, for ginned-up charges, a Democrat self-immolated outside of the courthouse and killed himself by drenching himself in gasoline and setting himself on fire, and he killed himself. Now, Jordan Neely died after he entered a subway train and terrorized everybody on the train. Daniel Penny, a former Marine, he wrestled Jordan Neely to the ground and held him in a kind of a headlock, sort of a chokehold, although the cause of death was not asphyxiation or damage to the trachea. He wasn't choked to death, but he had all kinds of issues related to his schizophrenia and a history of drug use, and he had been arrested at least 42 times in New York City and all that stuff. But outside the courthouse, after Daniel Penny was found not guilty, the Black Lives Matter people gathered, and they started threatening the world, threatening violence, terrorizing people like the terrorists that they are, who love death more than we love life. They love murder. And here's, they all have bullhorns, too. I think they're born with bullhorns. But here's a crazy person outside the courthouse after Daniel Penny was found not guilty, threatening everybody.
Daniel Penny, wherever you are today, you're put on notice. No matter how this outcome comes, you're not welcome in New York.
Outcome come.
You're not allowed to walk these streets.
Not allowed to walk these streets.
We patrol them. Not the NYPD.
Not the NYPD.
Not your security.
We patrol
This
them.
is our town.
Their town.
You're not safe here, homie. Pack your and get out of town.
That's right.
Straight like that.
Pack your stuff and get out of town. You're not safe here. You can't walk the streets. The NYPD doesn't patrol the streets. We do. And you're not safe here. And he's got a bullhorn. Where do all Democrats get bullhorns? Does Al Sharpton buy them for them? Where do they get these? They get them in grammar school or something? And then the Black Lives Matter boss in New York City, Hawk Newsom is his name. I don't know if his parents named him Hawk or not, but he goes by Hawk Newsom. I've got a friend we call Hawk, but his last name is Hawkins. So naturally you call him Hawk, right? Here's Hawk Newsom. He's calling for black racist criminals to terrorize and murder white people because they're white, because the crazy person, Jordan Neely, died on a New York City subway train. Of course, since that happened, like 400 black people have been murdered in New York City, but they don't care about, murdered, like walked up to and shot him and killed him kind of murders. Isn't that amazing? But never mind that. Since that happened, thousands and thousands, literally, of black people have been murdered in the United States of America, almost always by other black people. But never mind that. Here's Hawk Newsom. He's, I guess, the founder of Black Lives Matter in New York City.
We need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud?
No.
How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
Oppress. You don't want to be oppressed. Of course, he and his fellow travelers are the oppressors of civilization. But wait a minute, we want black vigilantes? Black vigilantes because we're not going to allow, because whites, you see, are choking black people. And, once every several years, if you ignore everything that happens in between, pretty crazy stuff. That's Hawk Newsom. And you know that Black Lives Matter has not cleaned up with more than $1 billion in donations, overwhelmingly, but not exclusively, from Democrats. They have not cleaned up one neighborhood. They've not fixed up one school. They have not saved one kid. They've not put together one scholarship. They have not done anything productive. They have taken the money. And you remember the Black Lives Matter lady in Los Angeles buying mansions, and she even bought one in Canada that I think used to be the headquarters of the Communist Party, right? A mansion in Canada. But never mind that. So there's Hawk Newsom. We need some black vigilantes. People want to jump up and choke us. Well, that's not actually what's going on. White people for being loud. Well, I will concede that you're loud. You're definitely loud and obnoxious and repellent, and you speak as a criminal speaks, a violent criminal. And then there was a woman with him by the name of Chivona Newsom, Chivona, which is from a galaxy far, far away. Chivona Newsom, and I have no idea whether they're related or brother, sister, husband, wife, but she seems quite charming, just like him. And I don't think she likes the United States much. But and she's a racist. Here she is. She saw when there were too many white jurors that it was just going to be a racist verdict because she's projecting her own racism on everybody else.
America has no moral code. America has no soul. Once we saw those non-white jurors, we knew that this case was over.
Saw those non-white jurists, we knew that this case was over because I think she's judging them based on their race, which makes her a textbook racist, a dictionary definition racist. But Shavona Newsom, she knew when she saw 9 white jurors that was it. But it was a hung jury on Friday. She doesn't remember what happened on Friday. I think her brain is fairly limited. But it gets better because Shavona Newsom then gave her opinion of white people and America.
These wonderful white people, I hope they celebrate their Christmas while the Neely family is praying and asking God for comfort. God them and God America.
Gosh darn them, all those white people, and gosh darn America. I'm cleaning it up a little bit for her because, this is your demographic. But it did remind us of Barack Obama's spiritual guidepost, the Right Reverend Jeremiah Wright of the Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago, Illinois, who said that September 11th was our chickens coming home to roost and we deserved it. Barack Obama's pastor, he presided over the baptism of the 2 children, all right, Sasha and Melania, who Malia. Yeah, Malia. Is that a waterborne virus? That's Sasha and Malia got a Russian name and an African name, not very American. And you may remember Jeremiah Wright sounded a lot like Shavona Newsom before Shavona Newsom came along.
God bless America. No. Not God bless America. God America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God America for treating us citizens as less than human.
Yeah. Gosh darn America, just like Shavona there. And again, that's Barack Obama's pastor, his reverend, who baptized his 2 children. Did he preside over the wedding? I'm not sure about that, but that's, and he's an America-hating, racist lunatic, and they're everywhere. They just love the racist lunatics, don't they? Let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to. Did you want to grab? Let's go to Ivan, calling from Miramar Beach, Florida. Ivan, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm great. What do you say?
Hey, Chris, I don't endorse targeting anyone, but I find it awful curious that the left doesn't go directly to the top and get the guy and target the guy at the top of Obamacare. If they're after the people responsible for the healthcare system, why don't they go straight to the top and go after the guy at the top of Obamacare?
And who would be at the top of Obamacare?
That's a hard question, Chris. I haven't been able to figure that one out.
It is, yeah, right. It's a mystery. Yeah, it was thrown into the bureaucracy, and that was that. But it's got Obama's name on it. I honestly would never suggest any harm come to Barack Obama. He needs to live out his days and be exposed as the charlatan that he is. But you're right. We call it Obamacare, and Obama and the Democrats fixed health care just a few years ago, and it caused great upheaval throughout the land. And they said that they made everything better. And so if this is health care in America with everything being better, gosh, thank God they came along. Just amazing stuff, right, Ivan? I mean, they're crazy as, I'll just say, heck.
Right. Hey, Chris, I got one more aside if you have a second.
Sure.
This is a subject for another day. But I would love it if somebody would try to get a rally together for January 6th to take the day back. How would it be if we got another million on the mall for January 6th to take our day back? So anyway, that's a subject for another day. But thanks a lot, man. Have a good one.
A very interesting thought, Ivan. Thank you very much. I tell you, I've got an NBC News reporter by the name of Tom Winter. He was on the television this morning, talking about the murderer of the CEO, and They're looking for excuses. They want to explain, well, healthcare is so bad, of course he had to murder the CEO.
I think when all the details of it come out, it's going to point to the fact that, yes, he definitely had an animus towards the healthcare industry.
You think?
Over some specific things, and in
like
particular,
what?
perhaps this company, United Healthcare.
Yeah, and maybe he had a good... Now that's Tom Winter. He pretends to be a reporter. And boy, oh boy... Yeah, he's probably got a... No, he doesn't know. He obviously doesn't know anything. He's just hypothesizing. But on MSDNC, that's where you're getting. Well, he probably had a legitimate grievance with the healthcare industry and maybe with this company specifically. Maybe. So naturally, he had to gun down the CEO and murder him because, he's a Democrat. Womp, womp, womp. Yes, sir. Now, Joe Biden is allegedly still the president of the United States, believe it or not. And he was babbling incoherently. Was it yesterday? It might have been the day before yesterday. And Joe going off, he's talking about Jill Biden. Now, Dr. Jill Biden visited Sicily recently. My best girl and I, we visited Sicily a few years ago now, I guess. We went to the town of Savoca in Sicily, which is all over the movie The Godfather. It's where Michael Corleone meets Apollonia, and Apollonia's father, Vitellius, runs the cafe. Never mind that. But she allegedly went to Sicily to look for her family roots, Italian roots. And here's Joe Biden saying that she went to meet the parents of her great-grandparents.
But Jill has been dealing with women's equality for women's health research.
Quality.
And she just got back from Abu Dhabi and all through Africa, and ended up, although she did go spend a little time in Sicily, because just a day or so to meet her great-great-grandmother's parents.
To meet her great-great-grandmother's parents. Jill went to Sicily because she wanted to meet her great-great-grandparents' parents? Her great-great-grandmother's parents, and that's why you would want, naturally, to go to Sicily, because it's what he said right there. 100 years ago, my great-great-grandparents, and she wanted to meet the great-great-grandmother's parents. So she went to Sicily. We still don't know how that worked out. I'll try to find out between now and tomorrow and get back to you on that.